All right, so we're diving into AI image generators, specifically Adobe Firefly. I know you're interested in AI and how it's changing things, especially for creative folks. So this deep dive should be right up your alley. We got that article about Adobe Firefly, and it seems like, well, they're really going for it with this new AI image generator. But at the same time, they're trying to play it safe. Kind of like, hey, everyone, don't worry, Firefly's different. It's ethical, because of the way it was trained.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're making some pretty big claims about where all their training data came from. Like, they only used ethically sourced images for Firefly. They keep saying, we only used Adobe stock images and openly licensed work and public domain stuff. It's like they're trying to distance themselves from all the issues around stable diffusion, all those accusations about them using copyrighted stuff without permission.
Yeah, like they're trying to make Firefly the good guy of AI image generators. But even still, 330 million images just from Adobe stock. That's a massive amount of data to train an AI on.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about how many images, right? It's about the kinds of images, too. It's like, think of it this way. AI's got to learn a whole visual language from these images. The bigger the data set, the bigger the vocabulary it learns. Like stable diffusion, they used almost 6 billion images. I mean, that gives the AI a crazy big visual vocabulary. But it also makes it more likely to accidentally copy stuff that's protected by copyright, right? Adobe's taking a totally different route with Firefly. They went for a smaller, more curated data set.
So smaller data set, maybe less chance of copyright problems. But isn't Adobe kind of a weird spot here? They're this huge company. They dominate the creative world with Photoshop and Illustrator and all that. But they also run one of the biggest stock image sites out there. It's almost like they're competing with themselves.
It's wild, right? They're a tool provider and a content platform, and now they're AI developers too. It's like they're disrupting their own business. They're training this AI tool that could, potentially put their own Adobe stock artists out of work.
Yeah, I see what you mean. That's where it starts to get a little messy. So how do they deal with that? How do they compensate those artists whose work was used to train Firefly? The article mentioned like a compensation model, but didn't really give any details.
Yeah, it's all pretty vague right now. They said they'll be more transparent about it once Firefly is officially released, out of beta. But for now, it's all hush-hush. And, it's interesting to see how different companies are handling this whole thing. Like Shutterstock, they're incorporating AI too, but they've promised they'll pay the artists whose images were used to train their AI.
Right, and then there's Getty Images. They went totally hardcore. Right? They've banned all AI-generated images from their platform. And they're suing the creators of Stable Diffusion, claiming they used Getty Images to train their AI without permission. They're not messing around.
Oh, yeah, Getty's taking a really strong stance, and, it highlights a big issue. Copyright law is struggling to catch up with all this AI stuff. Like, is using an image to train an AI considered transformative use, or is it straight up copyright infringement? The legal battles are just beginning, and the outcome, well, it's going to have massive implications for the creative world.
Feels like we're watching this whole battle play out in real time, right? Art, tech, and the law all clashing. But let's step back for a second. Beyond all the legal stuff, how do you see this AI image generator thing affecting artists in a practical sense? Will these tools be helpers or competition?
Honestly, that's the million-dollar question. The creative world is kind of freaking out. Some artists are excited, They see AI as a new tool, a way to boost their creativity, to try new things, push boundaries. But other artists, they're scared, worried that AI will make their skills worthless, that they'll be replaced, become, obsolete, basically.
Yeah, it's like we're right at the start of a creative revolution, and no one knows how it's all going to end.
Totally. And the choices we make right now, the conversations we have, will determine where that revolution goes. It's interesting. We're seeing a whole range of responses to AI in the art world. Take the CEO of Procreate. That's a really popular iPad drawing app. And he is totally against generative AI. Really outspoken about it.
Oh, yeah. And remember what happened with DeviantArt? When they launched their own AI image generator, their users were furious. All because of that opt-out system for training data. People felt like their rights as artists were being ignored, like progress was more important than their work.
Absolutely. Those examples are just the beginning, I think. We're seeing a fundamental clash between technology and art. It's bringing up these really tough questions, like what happens to the idea of authorship when AI can create art? What will happen to human creativity, to its value?
Man, these are some deep questions, and we've only scratched the surface. We'll definitely be diving deeper into all this. But first, let's...
Wait, what's really interesting to me? Adobe's plan to make Firefly even more personalized. They want to let users train it on their own specific content. Like, Imagine being able to generate images that perfectly match your company's branding or an artist's individual style.
Whoa, hold on. That's kind of mind-blowing, right? Custom-made AI creativity, just like that. But think about the other side of that. What about misuse? We've seen what people can do with deepfakes, how they can spread misinformation using AI. What's to stop them from using these personalized AI tools to create harmful stuff? Imagine a political campaign creating fake videos of their opponent, stuff that could really mess with people's opinions.
That's the scary part, isn't it? As AI gets more powerful, the stakes get higher. You gotta be really careful. We'll unpack all that after a quick. It really is like two sides of the same coin, you know? Amazing potential for creativity, but also for all kinds of bad stuff. Like giving someone a toolbox full of, I don't know, super powerful tools. You'd hope they'd build something incredible, but they could just as easily build something dangerous, right?
Yeah, that's a pretty dark analogy, but I think it fits. So how do we handle this? How do we encourage that creative potential without, letting the bad stuff happen?
That's the tough part. It's more than just finding technical solutions, you know? It's about like ethical guidelines and education and making sure everyone's talking about this stuff. We have to have these conversations now before things get out of control.
Okay, so let's talk about those solutions. What can actually be done to minimize the risks and make sure people are using these AI image generators responsibly?
Well, one really important thing is transparency. Like Adobe, they need to be more upfront about how their compensation model works. You know, are they just giving artists a one-time payment, or are they paying them based on how much their images get used by the AI? It needs to be clear and fair. That's the main thing.
Yeah, you can't just say, oh yeah, we'll compensate you. Artists need to know exactly how their work is being used and how they're being paid for it. But it's not just about money, right? It's also about having control over your own work.
Exactly. Artists should be able to choose whether they want their work used in these data sets or not, and there should be clear rules about how it can be used. And maybe a way for them to see how their images are being used, to see what kind of impact their work is having.
Yeah, giving artists that kind of transparency would change everything. They'd have more power, more of a voice in all of this, instead of feeling like their art's being taken without their permission.
Right. It's about shifting the balance of power, making sure artists are part of this whole AI thing, not just, watching it happen.
Okay, so transparency and control for artists. That's huge. But what about the bigger picture? How do we make sure this AI enhances creativity instead of just replacing it altogether?
That's where education comes in. We need to teach everyone about AI, artists, designers, even just the general public, how to use these tools effectively, ethically, and in a way that complements human creativity.
It's almost like we need a whole new approach to learning in this digital age to make sure people have the right skills and knowledge. But it's more than just technical skills, isn't it? It's also about being able to think critically about all this.
Exactly. We need to encourage people to question the stuff that AI creates, to understand its limitations, and to recognize any biases it might have.
Right, because AI isn't some kind of magic oracle or something. It's a tool, a powerful tool, sure, but still a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
I like that. It's all about how we use it. And the more we understand how AI works, the better we'll be at using it responsibly.
This whole conversation is making me think about something else, something we haven't really discussed yet. This idea of what is art in the age of AI. Like if an AI can create an amazing painting, is it really art? Or is it just, an algorithm spitting out pixels?
Whoa, that's a big question, and there's no easy answer. It really makes you rethink what art is all about, who gets to create it, and what it means to be human in a world where machines can create things that we used to think only humans could do.
Wow. It's like AI is forcing us to redefine creativity itself. But maybe that's not a bad thing, right? Maybe this is a chance to question our assumptions, to explore new possibilities, to really push the boundaries of art.
I like that. It's about embracing those possibilities, but doing it carefully with a critical eye.
So as we wrap up this part of the discussion, what's the key takeaway? What should our listeners be thinking about?
I think the most important thing is to remember that this AI thing, it's not just some abstract future problem. It's happening right now. It's changing the world, and it's changing the world of art and creativity too. And the decisions we make today will determine how AI shapes our world going forward.
It's a call to action, right? We all have a part to play in making sure AI is used for good. But how can our listeners get involved? How can they stay informed and make their voices heard?
It's all about staying curious, stay informed, stay involved in the conversations that are happening, read articles, research, go to talks, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Challenge the assumptions people are making, and share your own thoughts.
Because this isn't just some tech industry thing. It affects all of us. Artists, designers, anyone who enjoys art and creativity. AI is going to change things for everyone. So let's talk about it, debate it, and figure out how to make this work together.
I agree. It's about getting past the fear and the hype and really understanding what AI is all about and finding ways to use it responsibly.
Okay, so on that note, let's shift gears a little bit. Remember how Adobe talked about letting users train Firefly on their own branded content? I think that opens up a whole new set of challenges, and it's something we need to explore carefully. It's like almost too much power, like opening Pandora's box or something. On the one hand, it's amazing. Artists being able to create their own AIs, trained on just their stuff, their own style. It could change everything about how art is made.
Oh yeah, the possibilities are incredible. Think about it. A fashion designer could train an AI on all their designs, their whole career, and then use it to come up with new variations, experiment with different colors, even create completely new clothes, but still in their signature style. Or a filmmaker could use AI to generate storyboards, concept art, maybe even special effects, all customized to their vision.
Okay, yeah, that's some seriously cool stuff. But what about, the dark side? We've already seen how people can create deep fakes and spread misinformation using AI. What if someone uses these tools to create harmful stuff? Like, imagine a political campaign using AI to make fake videos of their opponent. Stuff that could really damage someone's reputation or influence an election.
It's a valid concern, for sure. As AI gets more powerful, we need to be super careful about the ethics of it all. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about how people use it. We need to be asking tough questions, like who should have access to these tools? How can we stop them from being used for bad stuff? And how do we make sure that anything created by AI is clearly labeled as such?
It's about finding that balance, right, between giving people creative freedom and making sure they use it responsibly.
Exactly. It's a balancing act, for sure. And it's not just a technical challenge, it's a challenge for society as a whole. We need to figure out what we value in this new world of AI-powered creativity.
Which brings us back to something we talked about earlier. How do we define art and authorship when AI is involved? Like if you hear a piece of music created by AI and it makes you feel something, does it matter that a human didn't actually write it?
That's the question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. It really makes you think about what art truly is. Who gets to be called an artist? Will we see a future where AI is considered like a collaborator working with human artists? Or will there always be a line between human creativity and what machines can do?
Maybe those lines will become blurred. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we need to expand our definition of art to include things that wouldn't exist without AI. It's pretty exciting, but also kind of scary.
Well, definitely, Lev. We need to approach it carefully, but also with a sense of wonder. Like any new technology, AI can be used for good or for bad. It all depends on the choices we make.
So any final thoughts for our listeners? What should they take away from this deep dive?
Don't think of AI as some far-off thing. It's already here, and it's changing everything, even the art world. We need to be part of this conversation, think critically about these changes, and decide what kind of future we want to create.
It's about shaping the future, not being shaped by it. And it starts with asking those tough questions, having those uncomfortable conversations.
Well said. It's about understanding AI and using it responsibly to create a better world.
Well, that wraps up our exploration of AI in its generation. We've covered a lot of ground, from the ethical dilemmas to the philosophical questions. We hope this deep dive has given you some things to think about. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that creative spark alive. Until next time.